This is me. I was born in Hong Kong, and as a little kid, I had all the dreams in the world. I wanted to be a scientist, an astronaut, like everyone. We all wanted to be that, and the sky was the limit. And when I turned 11, my parents took me across the globe to Costa Rica, and that's where I studied high school and university. Then, after university, I went to Miami Ad School in the United States, and it was the first time I ever lived alone. It was like a huge leap of independence, and a real wandering spirit was sparked. So I packed up 2 suitcases and just traveled the world in search of my future. And I had really no geographical destination, but my North Star was always creativity, and it was the perfect job where I could express my creativity the most. So I made some stops in New York, in Shanghai, Hamburg, Madrid, and now I'm here, where I've been for 14 years, and that's where you have me now. Oh, gosh. So I kind of divided up this presentation in like a story, in chapters. And I wanted to start with my love affair with art, creativity, and advertising. And I wanted to show this masterpiece I did at the age of 4, which really, I know, thank you. I'm very proud of it. And I also felt, it's like the cheap thing. Yeah, look at me, how cute I was. So I fell in love with advertising from a young age. As you can see here, I was just happy with this magazine wide open, looking at print ads and nothing else really. I couldn't read probably at this point. And I also really loved TV spots. For me, they were more like short films, more than advertising, and they really made me feel and laugh. And I think I was one of the only kids who would watch these compilations of like the best ads of the year, and I would record them on VHS and like rewatch them because that's how much I loved advertising. So after graduating from high school, I think it's always kind of a difficult age where people are confused, and I was in a fog of confusion as to what to do next. So I remember considering architecture, studying that, but I don't like straight lines. I think I also considered industrial design, but the university was just too far away from home. So I was just like, what do I do next? And I was lucky enough that when I was applying, I opened up the booklet from the university, and it happened to open on, what's the name of the thing? Collective Communication with Emphasis in Advertising. And all these memories of all these ads that I loved as a kid just came back. And I was like, that is really what I want, advertising. And my dreams of creating my first advertising campaigns really started forming, like having a print ad in a newspaper when newspapers were more of a thing. And a funny little film on TV was also all I wanted to do in life. So this was really what I wanted. And then comes chapter 2, which was my chapter of happy advertising. When I first started in advertising, I was actually quite naive about it. I was just happy to be there. For me, it was just creativity, teamwork, rainbows. And I still remember the first time I stepped foot into an advertising agency, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so giddy to be here. Like, people were just so fancy and cool, and yeah, that was like what I wanted to be and all I wanted to be. I was lucky to have very powerful women as my first teachers, mentors, and bosses. So I was actually very oblivious to any inequalities or glass ceilings that exist in the industry. I was really protected somehow. And this wouldn't be something that I would learn about till quite a bit later. And I was just in my happy little bubble, happy to be a little advertising creative floating in the world. And this innocence actually took me through quite a few years. I didn't need to deal with politics. I was just like drawing away and doing stuff that I really loved, surrounded by people who I really liked. Then we go to chapter 3. And this is something that I call the curse of stability. So after university, I went back to Hong Kong to visit. And I was walking with a friend on Temple Street, which is quite well known for street markets and also for fortune tellers. And we decided to get our palms read. Very smart thing to do as a teenager, especially with a lot of confusion in the world. So bless this guy. He was, I think, kind of a newbie. And he kept on looking at this book while he was reading my palm. And a lot of it turned out being a lot of mumbo jumbo, luckily. But one thing that stayed in my mind that he said, and that stood true till this day: you'll never get fired from any job you have. At that time, when I was a teenager, I had a sense of relief. I was like, cool, I'm done. I'm done for life, bye. And then I enjoyed the rest of my evening. Little did I know that it could backfire in a way. So I've had the luck of surviving a few rounds of massive layoffs that happened for different reasons, such as, also, please don't look at my CV and see like which agency was what. Everything is, anonymous. So I've had the luck of surviving a few rounds of massive layoffs, some because of lost clients, change of management. It's just stuff that happens. And I remember being in this conference room, and we had this organogram projected on this huge wall. And it was like these names with these red crosses, ///. And then there was me, like just this little person in the corner. And I was a bit like, what? Why did I survive this? And I still don't know why. I think maybe I was cheap and loyal and all this stuff. But in hindsight, I feel like this stability was actually a curse in disguise, because I never had to react to any dire changes. I never really had to feel like I needed to do anything grand to change something. And I was deep into something called the comfort zone, which is the fuzziest, warmest trap that one can have. And we'll see more of this guy later on in the presentation, but he's been there quite a lot. So chapter 4, I became the eternal mid-level creative at a point in my life when the agency where I worked at was also my life. So it was work, of course, but also my social life. I didn't need to leave these four walls. Like literally, that's where, how I was working. And in those four walls lay, as I said, a good percentage of my life. And that, of course, got a bit dangerous in the long run. Even my yearly talks became too comfortable. So I remember one very specifically. I was in this huge conference room, and my CD was on the other side of the room, and he was just eating a sandwich. And he was, he had a late lunch. He was like, all good? And I was like, yeah, cool. Okay, we like working with each other. And I think this all ended in 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, that went well? ? I had no idea. And at this point, I had already been a mid-level for an embarrassing amount of years. And as much as I wanted to be promoted to be a senior, I heard the same thing over and over again. And now looking back, it's a bit strange, but this was the situation at the time. We don't have the senior position here. And this was just something that I, as well as my coworkers in the same level, we just had to accept and live with. It just didn't exist. So there, like the little comfort zone monster was just like peeking his head and being like, but just wait a bit longer. Like, you're having a good time. You have your friends here. You like everyone. Just chill a bit. Just wait. And I did. And that's when my career was already out of my control because I was so comfortable. And this would be the first time I felt like my career and life, because it was so linked to my career, had plateaued. And spoiler alert, it wasn't the last time that I had this feeling. So eventually, my frustration was building. And career-wise, there was just nothing more that I wanted than to move forward. I really wanted to learn how to delegate, give feedback, work with juniors, manage teams. Like, this was something I really wanted to do because creative-wise, it was already fun, it was cool, but I just really wanted to take it to the next level. And with all this pent-up frustration, I spoke to the manager of HR. And what she told me was that I'd been there for such an amount of time that I had been put in a drawer and that it was difficult for them to see me in a different way. Yes, so I had been put in a drawer, and I was even told that it was very difficult for them to see me in a different way because I was like this shy, quiet, happy girl that was just fine with anything. And they even recommended to me to quit and then come back, and that would be the only way that they would see me differently. Again, this comfort zone guy was like, no, but it's so nice here. So I didn't quit, and what I did was take a mini sabbatical for 2 months or something. And that's when we go to chapter 5. Coming back, I realized that it was really time to say goodbye to the... That's a song, by the way. Time to say goodbye. Time to... Yeah, so I almost sang. So it was time to say goodbye to the sweet, quiet, happy girl in the room because it really wasn't taking me anywhere. Yeah, I mean, I think there were 3 years where I didn't get a raise, and yeah, this naive mentality that I had just wasn't enough anymore to bring me forward. And that's when I came to the realization, the very clear one, which is that nobody was going to just hand me things. And I start identifying some unfairness that the business can bring, like some little things like the boys' clubs and the this and that, and et cetera, et cetera. So all that was happening. And I realized that it was really necessary to be much more vocal, clearer, and louder on what I deserved. And this is really something that I would like to share with everyone here. Just really be clear as to what you really deserve. And I really cannot state it enough. Really keep your eye on the prize, like whatever the prize means in your mind. Keep your goals clear, express them clearly, and all this while really staying true to your core values. Then we go to the next chapter, which is the power of the unknown. So this was quite exciting because until then, I had had a very linear way of thinking and what career growth means. In my head, I was like, you go from intern to junior, mid-level, senior, CD, ECD, CCO, and so forth. It's a very rigid, straight line. And this was why if something gets obstructed for whatever reason, it means that your career is already obstructed. So in my case, because senior didn't exist, for some reason, I couldn't be senior. And luckily, my CCO at the time, he's a kind man, and he suggested something to me which never crossed my mind. And it's quite nice because there's so many Miami Ad School people here. He asked me, are you interested in being a teacher in Miami Ad School? There will be a teaching position available, and this is where you will be able to learn these skills that you care about so much. And I was really scared because I was really thinking, what knowledge do I have that I can give to people? Like, how can I even do this? I have zero experience. And I think, as many of you know, it's something that I really love doing, and I've done it for the past 8 years. So, yeah. So with this challenge, I really learned something about myself that I never knew before, which is how important the topic of education and mentorship is to me until this day. And then the next year, I also... that's me now. The following year, in 2016, I had another opportunity to be thrown outside of my comfort zone, which is I'm not singing there, but it was the first time I was invited to do a public speaking thing in Costa Rica, and it was in front of 200 people. I was petrified. And that was me. I mean, you can see the adrenaline in my eyes. I felt like I was unstoppable, and it was just the most exciting day ever. Again, I was super scared, super nervous. I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved it in the end. So it was another skill unlocked. And this is where I would invite you all also to really embrace the unknown, really explore it, because you may really learn to love the things that scare you. Okay. Then here comes a bit of my show-off era. So, chapter 7 were my glory days. Successful, between 2015 and 2018, as my notes say, were the most successful years of my career in advertising on paper. So I finally got this senior position that I so wanted. I was winning awards. I was working on a dream client. I was adding really cool stuff to my portfolio every year. I was getting a raise without asking for it. So I was finally in the flow that I really wanted for so long. And I also finally felt like I had the maturity in the industry to be in that position that I had seen as a goal for so long, which was the one of creative director. But I didn't want to be any old creative director. I wanted to be the best one I could possibly be, which was the boss I would have wanted to have when I first started out. So, thank you. No pressure. But after that, I really had this big question then, which is now what? What happens when your ultimate goal has been achieved, and then all these short-term wins are not giving you the same level of satisfaction as before? And this is basically how I felt. When I started off in school, that was really my ultimate goal, creative director. And I had never looked past that, so I felt completely lost, and it almost felt like the road was disappearing right from under me. And as much as I tried to establish next steps, I felt completely stuck as to how, what can I do next? And then we come to chapter 9, which is that opportunities can come from all places. I think some people already know where this is going. So for me, it came from the darkest of places. In July 2019, something happened that would change my life, which is I got sexually assaulted by a stranger on my way home from a work party. I'm not going to get into detail because that's not what this talk is about, but it really changed me. I never felt such a cause that I wanted to just shout from the rooftops and just really believe in so much. And I felt intense emotions like I had never felt before. I felt shame, I felt guilt and dirt, and nothing was really filling this profound hole that I had in my soul. And then, little by little, after some months, I found my voice. And I really decided to flaunt my emotional scars in the most positive way that I felt I could. So I was putting all my emotions on paper and all the facts as well. And to be honest, like that process really saved me. Well, yeah. I don't want to be dramatic, but yes, it's true. So, based on this experience, I had this art exhibition, which I'm also glad to see that some people who are here are also here today, so thank you for that. That's Mazo over there. Yeah, that's you. And it was an amazing experience because it was really being able to, really express myself fully. And I had never done anything like this before. I never saw myself as an artist. Sure, I liked illustrating, whatever, but this was really something, it was the proudest thing that I had done till that moment. Since then, I also collaborated with a friend to create an animated audio piece that's named Das Licht im Treppenhaus. So, German speakers, I hope I said that okay. And it's the light on the staircase. And I learned how to animate in record time just because I need to deliver something. But it was also an amazing learning experience. And just to show off a bit more, it was chosen to be part of a women's film festival, which will premiere end of October. And thank you. And the experience also motivated me to invest in a training program to be a transformational coach, which also I haven't really actively done anything transformational coaching, but I sneak it in when I'm a creative director in my daily life. I don't know if you've noticed, but I try to sneak it in there to get my money's worth. So the difference from before with the Miami Ad School teaching experience and the public speaking opportunity was that this time I was creating these opportunities myself. It's an extreme case, but I think it's also something that I would like to invite everyone to do, which is to really create your own opportunities. And I was constantly adding skills to my toolkit. Like suddenly I was an editor, an animator, a sculptor, filmmaker, question mark. Like, I was like, what? What's happening? So again, like really push yourselves and explore the potential that you have in terms of creativity. And my definition of what it meant to be a creative was really broadening because it went from, as you remember, creative, print ads, TV, that's it, to this whole beautiful branch of wonderful opportunities. So again, I would invite you all to dissect what this broad word means to you. How are you creative? How have you been creative in the past that you can bring back? What do you want to be? What have you always wanted to be? And what can you add to your toolkit to complement your existing skills? Because remember that your path is completely flexible and malleable. It's not this linear thing that I drew before. Like you can really bend it, paths can merge, and it can really be amazing. So chapter 10, we go back to the title of this presentation, which is Be the Author of Your Own Story. So when looking through, when working on this presentation, I was really trying to identify moments of my life where I felt like I had plateaued. So kind of like when the senior position didn't exist, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of made a definition that every time I felt like I had plateaued was when the comfort zone had overstayed its welcome. So yeah, really be careful about this comfort zone monster. So this is one of my favorite quotes. So really take your hands off of what you cannot control and get your hands on what you can change. It's a really good way to direct your energy on what matters. And that's my main message with everything. So you never know how your story will be and what twists and turns it will take. But as long as you really stay true to your core values, follow your heart, you really have the power to write your own story. So as a conclusion, I've compiled a little list of learnings that I thought was useful for myself. So hopefully it sparks something in you as well. So I start off with the premise that whoever is here today has a curiosity for the topic or has been in the situation that maybe your career has or life has plateaued at some point. So the first tip, let's say, so stay curious. Really be open to the variety that's happening in the world. So trends, new tendencies. Keep asking why and be really humble as to what you know and what you don't know, because there's always really something to learn. I see some smiles there. Number 2, never stop learning while you're at it. So again, keep on adding to your toolbox, but most importantly, be strategic about it. So really think about what complements what you already know so that you really create something powerful. Establish clear goals for yourself and update them constantly. Don't do what I did, which was creative director. That's great. Now I'm one. Oh, cool. Now what? Just really keep on updating and thinking about your short-term goals, mid-term, long-term as well. Very important one, listen to your body. It will be sending you signals when it is requesting some sort of change. The body knows best, like physical little things that could, yeah, I think maybe some people have had it. Very important as well, the world is vast. So remember the last time that you really felt in awe of something, whether it's a beautiful view, whether it's a beautiful place, some food, an amazing conversation, and keep on chasing experiences like these. Stop linear thinking. This, I think, we already talked about earlier, and just really be flexible in how you are thinking about your life. This one is a bit difficult. I suffer from it myself sometimes, but stop comparing yourself with others because it's energy that is lost, and focus on yourself instead. And last but not least, don't let anyone else write your story. So really hold that pen and just keep on writing how you desire. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.